Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to photosynthesis. We're finishing up the Calvin cycle. The Calvin-Benson cycle is all about taking the energy from the photosystems and use that energy to turn a low energy molecule, carbon dioxide, into a high energy molecule, sugar. Carbon dioxide is added to a 5-carbon molecule, making 2 low energy 3-carbon molecules called PGA. The energy from the light reactions, ATP and ADPH, are pumped into these low energy molecules to make a high energy molecule called G3P. After I've run the process 3 times, I can pull one of those out. Because remember, how many carbons do I add each time I run the Calvin cycle? I add 1 new carbon. If I need to pull out a 3-carbon molecule, it means I have to run the Calvin cycle 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now I can pull one of those out. I do it 1, 2, 3 more times, I can pull out a second one of these, and now I have enough to make sugar. The PGA is converted into G3P using the energy from ATP and NADPH. The 2 of those G3P molecules have to be slammed together to make a molecule of sugar, a molecule of glucose. I have waste products now, NADP plus ADP and P, that I use the energy molecules up in the Calvin cycle. I now have their waste products, but the waste products implies that it's trash. The waste products implies that it is useless, and it's not useless. They can be recycled. They can be used over again. So they diffuse back to the photosystem so they can be reused over and over and over again. It's kind of like a bucket. This is a bucket for carrying high energy. You don't just throw a bucket away once you've dumped the water out of it. You go fill it with more water. I don't just throw away a dead rechargeable battery. What do? Well, I just put it back on the charger so I can use it again. So these products diffuse back to get re-energized so they can be used to power the Calvin cycle. It's just a big circle. And remember, all of this is taking place inside of the chloroplast. All of this is taking place inside of that one special organelle that we only find in plant cells. The energy that's pulled out, the energy molecules pulled out are in the form of G3P. I can then use that G3P to make sugars. The sugars are then used to make everything in the plant. The plants will then use those sugars to make cellulose, to make the major component of their cell walls. They'll make starch, which is long-term energy storage for plants. This is just a big long chain of sugars. They'll use those sugars for cellular respiration. Plants don't do cellular respiration, they do photosynthesis. They do both. They don't make that sugar for us to eat, they make that sugar for them to eat. Plant cells have mitochondria in them just like your cells do. They make the sugar first and foremost so they can eat it. The extra stuff is what they use to store energy. The extra stuff is what they use to make their cell walls. They use that sugar as the raw material to make everything. Plants, they use those sugars to make everything. The funny thing is there's actually very little glucose in plants. The reason why is that glucose does not transport or store very well. So what the plant does is the plant will turn that glucose into more easily transportable sugars like sucrose. Sucrose transports really easy, really much easier than glucose does. The plant will also convert that glucose into starch. Starch, remember, starch is long-term energy storage for plants. Starch is really stable. That's why pasta, dried spaghetti noodles can sit in your cabinet for literally years. And then you can still cook it and it's fine. Starch is very, very stable. That's why plants make it. They make this very stable molecule called starch as a long-term energy storage. All right? We steal that from the plants for the energy. And we already said that the cellulose is made for the cell walls. About half of the sugar that's made is actually physically consumed by the plant. Half is used for making this other stuff, the cellulose, the starch. The main half is used for energy for the plant. The plant is doing this to get energy. The plant is doing this to get food. So what is it going to do with the food that it makes? It's going to eat it. And why do the plants eat it? They eat it because they want to grow, and plants grow. During the day, the glucose gets converted into starch or sucrose. Sucrose because it's easy to transport, starch because it stores really well. That process that we just got done talking about, the Calvin-Benson cycle, is referred to as C3. What that means is most plants are C3 plants. C3 means the first stable product of carbon fixation is a 3-carbon molecule. Carbon fixation. What does it mean if you're fixing something? Why do you fix something? Because it's broke. You are fixing it because it's not working. It is useless. If it ain't working, it's useless. You are fixing something. You're converting it from a useless form into a useful form. So carbon fixation, fixing carbon, takes it from a useless form, carbon dioxide, and converts it into a usable form. In this case, PGA, if you are a C3 plant. Most plants are C3. Some plants are what we call C4. They still do photosynthesis the same basic way we just talked about. They do the light reactions, they take the energy from that to do the Calvin cycle. The difference is C4 plants and CAM plants have a couple extra steps to carbon fixation before they start the Calvin cycle. They still do the Calvin cycle the same way. 1 carbon at a time gets added. Till I add 3, I can pull out a molecule. I add 3 more, and now I can go make a sugar with it. C4 plants, they have an extra step where they tie the carbon dioxide to a different molecule first that they can then store. And they hold on to that. And the reason why is because C4 plants and CAM plants are often found in hot, dry environments. And if we're talking about hot, dry environments, remember a long time ago when we talked about those stomata, we talked about the nostrils of the plant. We said that as long as the plant has their nostrils open, as long as they got their stomata open, what's also happening? Yeah, they're bringing in carbon dioxide. Yeah, they're releasing oxygen, but what are they also releasing? They're also releasing water. And if you live in a hot, dry environment, it stands to reason that you might want to save water. And what C4 metabolism and what CAM metabolism do is they give the plant a little more flexibility about how they bring in carbon dioxide, so they lose less water doing so. A C3 plant is called C3 because the first stable product of carbon fixation is a 3-carbon molecule, and that 3-carbon molecule is PGA. A C4 plant, guess why it's called C4? Because the first stable product of carbon fixation is a 4-carbon molecule. And that 4-carbon molecule is called oxaloacetic acid. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. Carbon dioxide is affixed to a 3-carbon chain, making a 4-carbon chain. That's why it's called C4. That 4-carbon chain is converted into something else, which is then stored. And that something else called malic acid, it's not that important, then will give up that 1 extra carbon that it got from carbon dioxide to RUBP to make PGA. It's a step above the Calvin cycle. It is to give the C4 plant a chance to save water by having this extra step so that they don't have to have their stomata open at the wrong times. C4 plants are grasses. So when you look out in the yard and you see a grass, that is a C4 plant. C4 plants, places where grasses are the dominant. Places where grasses are the dominant plant, as in not many trees, tend to be places with not a lot of water. Tend to be very dry places. That's why the grass is the dominant plant, because they're good at saving water because they do this C4 process. CAM plants only open their stomata at night. CAM, I'll tell you what it stands for in a minute. Cactuses are CAM plants. All right, pause. Where are cactuses found? You know where cactuses are found. Cactuses are found in the desert. Why are deserts deserts? Because they're hot. No, a desert is not a desert because it's hot. A desert is a desert because it doesn't get much rain. It doesn't get much water. They are hot for a long reason I'm not going to go into. But as long as those stomata are open, what is the plant doing? What's happening to the plant? They're losing water. It's hot in the desert during the day. It's cold in the desert at night. When is water going to evaporate faster? When it's hot or when it's cold? It evaporates a lot faster when it's hot. That's why boiling water evaporates so quick. It evaporates a lot faster when it's hot. So what cactuses do is they only open their stomata at night. And they bring in that carbon dioxide and they store it so they can use that carbon dioxide the next day. When the sun comes up, they close their stomata so they don't lose water. And then they will do photosynthesis because, remember, the light reactions, the light's got to be shining. Then they will do photosynthesis until they run out of carbon dioxide. Once they've run out of carbon dioxide, they have to stop doing photosynthesis. This is why cactuses grow so slowly. 2 reasons. 1, because they only open their stomata at night. 2, they don't get much water. And plants have to have water to do photosynthesis. They have to do photosynthesis to grow. Cactuses grow really slowly because there's not enough water to do enough photosynthesis. C4 and CAM are adapted for hot, dry conditions. So, what kind of plant am I looking at? If you can't see very well in the picture, you're looking at corn. What kind of a plant is corn? Corn is a grass. The next time you have an opportunity to look at a leaf, a corn leaf, does it look like a leaf on an oak tree, or does it look like a giant blade of grass? The leaf on a corn plant looks like a giant blade of grass, because what is corn? Corn is giant grass. So what kind of plant is this? C3, C4, or CAM? Grasses are C4 plants. C3, C4, or CAM? These are C3 plants, bunch of trees. Are there C4 plants in the picture? Yeah, there's some grass right here. And grasses are C4. C3, C4, or CAM? And the answer is this is a CAM plant. Cactuses. Cactuses are succulent stems. The reason why they're called succulent stems is, okay, first of all, where are the leaves on the cactus? And the answer is, the quick answer is, cactuses don't have leaves. So all of their stems are green because that's what the chlorophyll is. Second answer, the more detailed answer is, they actually do have leaves. That's the thorns. The spikes on a cactus, those are modified leaves. The spikes are to keep animals from eating them because succulent stems, the stems are full of water. And what do the animals want in the desert? They want water. So succulent stems are all CAMs. CAM stands for crassulacean acid metabolism. No, you don't have to know that, but everybody always asks me, what does CAM stand for? That's what CAM stands for. All right, that's it for Chapter 7. See you in Chapter 8.